There is a vintage jetliner sitting on a secluded runway right now whose engines were moved entirely to the rear of the fuselage, just to save you from the deafening roar of early transatlantic flight. It was a machine widely hailed as the most beautiful, stable, and luxurious airliner Britain ever engineered, yet its existence is defined by a commercial failure that permanently crushed a golden era of aviation. It's a nostalgic reality that most people who grew up during the jet age find genuinely difficult to believe the first time they look at the data. Stay with me from beginning to end, because engineering choice number 3 is a structural paradox that rival American manufacturers didn't think was possible in a long-haul jet. And the final limitation, number 5, is the exact economic trap that ensured this majestic masterpiece would never become a global success. The first structural barrier is the hot and high airfield trap. You know the feeling of a modern airliner smoothly accelerating down a massive, flat runway at sea level, lifting off with miles of concrete to spare. If you attempted that in the early 1960s from the short, high-altitude runways of Africa or Asia, standard early jets would simply run out of tarmac and crash. To solve this, British engineers designed a massive, highly complex wing equipped with advanced slats and flaps, paired with 4 rear-mounted Rolls-Royce engines. Data from early operational logs reveals this geometric layout allowed the massive aircraft to take off in just 2/3 the distance of an American Boeing 707. What this means for the design is that the plane was over-engineered to solve a highly specific geographic problem that the rest of the world didn't actually have. The sheer, uncompromising brilliance of the engineering, if you let the physics land, is staggering. The second barrier is the heavy tail penalty. Imagine walking down the aisle of a standard modern airliner, knowing the massive weight of the engines is balanced perfectly under the wings. By shifting all 4 engines to the tail to give the wings maximum aerodynamic purity, British designers accidentally created a structural nightmare. The rear fuselage had to be heavily reinforced with massive, solid steel spars just to support the weight of the power plants. A specific structural teardown shows that this extra reinforcement added tons of dead weight to the airframe that the aircraft had to carry on every single flight. For the airlines operating it, it meant the plane was burning precious fuel just to carry the heavy structure required to hold its own engines. The third barrier is the custom-built market vacuum. You might think an aerospace company builds an aircraft to sell to the entire world. In reality, this jet was strictly micromanaged and dictated by a single, state-owned British airline that demanded the plane conform perfectly to their empire roots. When the manufacturer finally tried to export the finished product to major global carriers, international executives looked at the hyper-specific performance metrics and walked away. The aircraft's target market instantly shrank by over 90%, leaving the manufacturer with no choice but to rely almost entirely on domestic government orders to keep the production line alive. It was permanently trapped by its own custom design, banned by economics from ever achieving mass global production. The fourth barrier is the premium fuel penalty. Think about the razor-thin margins of running a modern airline fleet, where a fraction of a percent in fuel efficiency dictates whether a route makes money. Because of its heavy rear structure and unique aerodynamic profile, this British masterpiece consumed an astonishing 15% more fuel per passenger hour than the simpler, lighter American Boeing 707. An operational cost audit conducted during the peak of its service revealed that running a fleet of these aircraft put airlines at an immediate, severe financial disadvantage against global competitors. What this means for aviation history is a tragic mathematical reality. Passengers absolutely loved the incredibly quiet, smooth ride, but the executives paying the fuel bills absolutely hated it. The fifth limitation drops the aerodynamics entirely and hits the brutal reality of global industrial scale. American factories were pumping out hundreds of standardized jets, driving the purchase price down to a fraction of the cost. I've saved this one for last because it belongs last. This aircraft didn't fail because the British lacked vision. It failed because they built a highly tailored, beautiful boutique machine in an era that demanded cheap, mass-produced assembly lines. The dream of a British-dominated global sky didn't end with a lack of talent, but with the ruthless efficiency of American manufacturing scale. Has a beautifully designed piece of technology ever made you nostalgic for a time when style and luxury mattered more than the bottom line? What forgotten machine from your youth felt like it was built with pure passion, only to be completely wiped out by cheaper alternatives?